The complete story of perverse like you've never seen it before, Bible stories. What if I told you there's a hidden guide, an ancient source of wisdom sitting right in front of us, yet so many overlook it, or worse, underestimate its power? We're diving into the Book of Proverbs, but not like you've ever seen it before. This isn't just another Bible study or religious discourse. What makes this exploration unique is how we'll unveil the profound connections between ancient wisdom and your modern life challenges. Imagine discovering that the answers to your deepest questions about success, relationships, and purpose have been preserved for thousands of years, waiting for you to unlock them. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate life's complexities with remarkable clarity while others struggle? What if the difference isn't luck or natural ability, but access to timeless wisdom? Think about it. In a world drowning in self-help books and motivational content, could the most powerful guide for living have been hiding in plain sight all along? The Book of Proverbs isn't just a collection of wise sayings. It's a masterclass in living written under divine inspiration that addresses every aspect of human experience. How should you handle success without losing your soul? What's the secret to relationships that last? How do you find peace in a world of chaos? These aren't just ancient questions. They're your questions. By the end of this journey, you'll gain more than knowledge. You'll discover a framework for making decisions that you can trust, insights into building relationships that stand the test of time, wisdom for handling wealth, work, and influence. Understanding that brings peace in challenging times. Practical guidance for modern challenges from timeless principles. If you've ever felt lost trying to navigate life's biggest decisions, or if you're seeking deeper wisdom that goes beyond surface-level advice, this exploration was created specifically for you. Before we begin this transformative journey together, I'm curious. How many of you have felt that modern solutions aren't quite enough for the challenges you're facing? If you're ready for wisdom that goes deeper, type wisdom in the comments below. Your response helps me understand who's joining this journey of discovery. Let's uncover the profound wisdom of Proverbs together and see how these ancient truths can transform your life in ways you never imagined. Part 1. The Birth of Divine Wisdom. What kind of wisdom would you ask for if God appeared to you in a dream? What would you choose if you could have anything in the world? And what does it tell us about a person's character when they choose wisdom over wealth, power, or fame? In the quiet of night, in an ancient place called Gibeon, a young king faced exactly this choice. Solomon, son of the legendary King David, had just ascended to the throne of Israel. The weight of ruling God's chosen people rested heavily on his young shoulders. The year was approximately 970 BCE, and the kingdom of Israel stood at a crucial crossroads. Picture the scene. A young man, barely in his 20s, lying down to sleep after offering 1,000 burnt offerings to the Lord. The air still carried the lingering scent of sacrifice, and the stars stretched across the desert sky. It was here, in this moment of vulnerability and devotion, that God appeared to Solomon in a dream. "Ask for whatever you want me to give you," God said. This wasn't just a test, it was a divine revelation of character. Solomon's response would shape not only his reign, but the future of wisdom literature that would impact humanity for millennia to come. In this pivotal moment, Solomon's reply revealed the true nature of his heart. "You have shown great kindness to your servant, my father David," Solomon began, his words reflecting deep humility. "Now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. But I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong." The Bible tells us this response pleased the Lord deeply. Think about it. A young ruler, with the opportunity to ask for anything, chose the ability to lead his people well over personal gain. This wasn't just wisdom, it was wisdom born from humility and responsibility. God's response was extraordinary. "Since you have asked for this, and not for long life or wealth for yourself, nor have asked for the death of your enemies, but for discernment in administering justice, I will do what you have asked," God declared. "I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be." But God didn't stop there. He added something remarkable. "I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings." This divine encounter marked the birth of a wisdom that would transcend generations. Solomon's wisdom became legendary, drawing leaders from distant lands to hear his insights. The Queen of Sheba herself would later travel vast distances just to test this wisdom, declaring that what she found exceeded even the fantastic reports she had heard. Under this divine gift of wisdom, Solomon would write over 3,000 proverbs, compile the wisdom of others, and create a legacy of understanding that would guide humanity for thousands of years. His insights would touch every aspect of life, from the grand matters of kingdom governance to the intimate details of human relationships. But here's the profound question that brings us to our next chapter. What happens when divine wisdom meets human nature? How does the greatest gift of understanding interact with the complexities of human choice and free will? As we delve deeper into the Proverbs, we'll discover that Solomon's journey with wisdom wasn't just about receiving divine insight. It was about the complex interplay between heavenly wisdom and earthly challenges. His story reminds us that wisdom isn't just knowledge given, it's truth lived out in the crucible of real life. Let's explore how this divine wisdom, born in a nighttime encounter with God, became the practical guidance that still speaks to our deepest needs today. Part 2. The foundation of all understanding. What does it truly mean to be wise? To walk through life with understanding, purpose, and clarity? And why does Proverbs insist that all true wisdom begins with something that might sound strange to our modern ears? The fear of the Lord. Picture yourself in ancient Jerusalem, standing in the magnificent temple that Solomon built. The air is thick with incense, and the golden walls gleam in the lamplight. A young Solomon kneels before God, facing a moment that would define not just his reign, but the very essence of wisdom itself. The weight of an entire kingdom rests on his shoulders. Yet his request isn't for power, wealth, or military might. In 1 Kings 3:9, we witness this pivotal moment. Solomon, aware of his youth and inexperience, prays, "Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong." This wasn't a casual request, it was a profound acknowledgement of human limitation before divine wisdom. God was so pleased with this humble petition that he granted Solomon wisdom beyond measure, making him the wisest man who ever lived. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Solomon, blessed with unparalleled wisdom, continuously emphasizes throughout Proverbs that true wisdom begins not with intelligence or experience, but with a reverent fear of the Lord. Proverbs 1:7 declares, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." This fear isn't about terror or dread. Imagine standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, feeling that overwhelming sense of awe that makes you step back in reverence. That's closer to what Solomon means. A deep, soul-stirring awareness that we stand before a holy, all-powerful Creator who knows the depths of the universe, who sees every hidden motive, and who governs with perfect justice. Solomon's own life illustrates both the power and necessity of this foundation. In his early years, when this fear of the Lord guided his decisions, his wisdom brought peace and prosperity to Israel. Leaders traveled from distant lands just to hear his insights. Yet later in life, as his heart grew divided and this foundational fear of the Lord weakened, even the wisest man who ever lived began to lose his way. The Book of Ecclesiastes, another of Solomon's writings, reveals his inner struggles. After pursuing pleasure, success, and knowledge apart from God, he concludes in Ecclesiastes 12:13, "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." He had learned through painful experience that wisdom divorced from reverence for God leads to emptiness. But why is this fear of the Lord so fundamental to wisdom? Because it sets everything in its proper place. It's a recognition that we are not the center of the universe, God is. This humbling realization makes us teachable, ready to receive truth that transcends our limited perspective. In today's world, we're often taught that wisdom comes from within, that the answers are found in self-discovery or the latest trends. But Proverbs challenges us to start with humility, to admit that we are not the source of wisdom, God is. Think about the implications of this truth in your own life. How different would your decisions be if they were grounded in a deep reverence for God? What would change in your relationships, your work, your daily choices if this divine perspective shaped every step? As we continue our journey through Proverbs, remember that this fear of the Lord isn't just a concept to understand. It's a foundation to build upon. It's the beginning of a transformation that touches every aspect of life, leading us toward true wisdom that brings both success and peace. With this foundation of godly fear established, Proverbs opens up a treasury of practical wisdom for life's most pressing challenges. Let's explore how this wisdom transforms our relationships, the very connections that shape our journey through life. Part 3. Wisdom for life's greatest challenges. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate life's storms with remarkable grace, while others stumble at every turn? What separates those who build lasting relationships from those whose connections crumble? And perhaps most intriguingly, how did an ancient king's wisdom about these challenges remain so powerfully relevant thousands of years later? Picture the scene in ancient Jerusalem. King Solomon, at the height of his reign, sits in his royal court. Leaders from distant lands journey across deserts and seas, seeking his legendary wisdom. But Solomon's path to understanding wasn't always clear. Early in his reign, God appeared to him in a dream, offering him anything he desired. Instead of requesting wealth, power, or long life, Solomon asked for wisdom to lead his people well. This pivotal moment in 1 Kings 3:9 reveals Solomon's heart. Give your servant a discerning heart, to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. God was so pleased with this request that he granted Solomon wisdom beyond measure, making him the wisest person who ever lived. But Solomon's wisdom wasn't theoretical. It was forged in the crucible of real-life challenges. As king, he faced complex relationships, managed vast wealth, and witnessed the power of words to build or destroy kingdoms. His insights in Proverbs reflect these experiences, offering practical guidance for life's greatest challenges. Consider his words about relationships in Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Solomon understood that our associations shape our destiny. He had seen how his father David's friendship with Jonathan demonstrated loyalty in its purest form, while his own later relationships with foreign wives would eventually lead him astray. On wealth and work, Solomon writes from experience. Having amassed unprecedented riches, he warns in Proverbs 23:4-5, do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Cast but a glance at riches and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. These aren't just poetic metaphors. They're hard-earned insights from someone who had everything, yet found it ultimately unsatisfying. Perhaps most powerfully, Solomon addresses the impact of our words. Proverbs 18:21 declares, the tongue has the power of life and death. As a king whose decrees could mean prosperity or ruin, peace or war, Solomon intimately understood how words could shape reality. He had witnessed how his father's psalms brought hope to generations, and how careless words could ignite conflicts between nations. Yet these teachings aren't merely historical artifacts. Today, in our world of instant communication and digital relationships, Solomon's wisdom cuts through the noise with remarkable clarity. When he warns about the dangers of hasty words or the importance of choosing companions wisely, he speaks directly to our modern struggles with social media, workplace dynamics, and personal relationships. But here's the profound question that emerges. If Solomon, with all his God-given wisdom, eventually struggled in these very areas, what hope do we have? This is where Proverbs reveals its deepest truth. Wisdom isn't just about knowing the right principles, it's about daily choosing to live them out. As we transition to exploring the path of transformation, remember that Solomon's experience teaches us something crucial. Wisdom isn't a destination but a journey. The challenges he faced, relationships, wealth, words, and temptation aren't just ancient issues. They're your challenges, my challenges, human challenges that transcend time. Think about your own life. Where do you see these timeless struggles playing out? In your relationships, your career, your daily choices? As we continue this journey through Proverbs, you'll discover that its wisdom isn't just ancient advice. It's a living guide for your modern life. Part 4. The Path to Transformation. What does it mean to be truly transformed? How does ancient wisdom reshape not just our actions, but the very core of who we are? And what can the life of history's wisest king teach us about the journey from knowledge to transformation? Imagine standing in Solomon's court during the height of his reign. The air is thick with incense, and golden surfaces reflect the warm Jerusalem sun. Here sits a king renowned not just for his wealth, but for his divine gift of wisdom. Yet, Solomon's story reveals a profound truth about transformation. It's not a destination, but a continuous journey of choices. In 1 Kings, we witness a pivotal moment. The young King Solomon, overwhelmed by the weight of leading God's people, makes a choice that would echo through history. When God appears to him in a dream offering anything he desires, Solomon doesn't ask for wealth, power, or long life. Instead, he requests wisdom. "Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong." 1 Kings 3:9. This moment marks the beginning of Solomon's transformation, but it wasn't the end. Through Proverbs, Solomon shares the deeper wisdom gained from both his triumphs and failures. "Pride goes before destruction," he writes, "a haughty spirit before a fall." Proverbs 16:18. These weren't just theoretical observations. They were hard-earned lessons from his own journey. Consider the profound tension in Solomon's teachings about transformation. Proverbs 27:17 tells us, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." This isn't just about self-improvement. It's about the divine alchemy that occurs when we allow ourselves to be shaped by God's wisdom and the community He places around us. The path to transformation, as revealed in Proverbs, involves 4 essential elements: character formation through discipline, the balance of justice with mercy, the battle between pride and humility, and the power of consistent choices. Solomon understood that transformation isn't a single moment of insight, but a daily commitment to align our hearts with divine wisdom. Picture a master craftsman working with precious metal. The process of refinement requires both heat and pressure, uncomfortable elements that ultimately reveal the material's true beauty. Similarly, Proverbs teaches that transformation often comes through challenges. "The crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart." Proverbs 17:3. But here's what makes this wisdom revolutionary. Transformation in Proverbs isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who we were truly meant to be. It's about allowing divine wisdom to strip away the false self and reveal our authentic nature, created in God's image. This leads us to a deeper question: what stands between us and true transformation? Solomon's life provides a sobering answer. Even with unparalleled wisdom, he eventually strayed from his own teachings. His story reminds us that transformation requires more than knowledge. It demands continuous surrender to God's shaping work in our lives. As we prepare to explore how this transformation extends beyond individual growth to impact our families and communities, consider this. Are you ready to embrace not just the comfort of wisdom's promises, but the challenge of its demands? True transformation, as Proverbs reveals, comes at a price, but its rewards echo through eternity. For transformation isn't meant to end with us. As we'll discover, the wisdom that reshapes our hearts is meant to flow outward, creating ripples that impact generations to come. Part 5. Building a legacy of wisdom. What does it mean to leave behind something more valuable than gold? How do we create an inheritance that transcends generations? What if the greatest gift we could give our children isn't found in our bank accounts, but in the wisdom we instill? In the heart of Jerusalem, nearly 3,000 years ago, King Solomon stood at a pivotal moment. As he watched his own son Rehoboam growing up amid the splendor of the royal court, he faced a profound realization. Despite having accumulated more wealth than any king before him, Solomon understood that true legacy wasn't measured in silver and gold, but in the wisdom passed from one generation to the next. Proverbs 22:6 captures this moment with striking clarity. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart from it. Picture Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, penning these words not just as a king, but as a father. His personal journey had shown him how wealth could corrupt, how power could blind, and how wisdom, if not properly passed on, could be lost in a single generation. The stakes were immense. Solomon had witnessed his own father, King David, navigate the delicate balance of building a legacy. David's last words to Solomon weren't about maintaining the kingdom's borders or protecting its wealth, but about walking in God's ways and keeping his statutes. This scene, recorded in 1 Kings 2:1-4, shows us a father's heart desperately wanting his son to understand what truly matters. But Solomon's story takes an unexpected turn. Despite his profound wisdom, we see him struggling with this very challenge. His own son, Rehoboam, would eventually make choices that would split the kingdom in two. This painful reality underscores one of Proverbs' most powerful messages. Wisdom must be both taught and caught, demonstrated and lived out. Proverbs 17:6 tells us, "Children's children are a crown to the aged, and parents are the pride of their children." This isn't just about family pride, it's about the profound responsibility and opportunity each generation has to shape the next. The Hebrew word for crown here, ateret, suggests something that brings honor and defines legacy. Consider how this wisdom plays out in our modern context. We live in an age where information is abundant, but wisdom is rare. Parents today face challenges Solomon never imagined: social media, digital addiction, shifting cultural values. Yet the principles he laid out in Proverbs remain startlingly relevant. How do we guide our children through these modern mazes while keeping them anchored in timeless truth? The answer lies in understanding that building a legacy of wisdom isn't about perfect parenting or flawless execution. It's about consistent, intentional investment in the next generation. Proverbs 13:22 reminds us, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." This inheritance isn't just material, it's spiritual, emotional, and wisdom-based. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. The legacy of wisdom described in Proverbs doesn't stop at family boundaries. It ripples out into communities, influencing societies and shaping cultures. Think about how one wise decision-maker in a family can influence dozens, even hundreds of lives across generations. As we stand at our own pivotal moments, facing decisions that will echo through time, we must ask ourselves, what legacy are we building? Are we investing in what truly lasts? The wisdom of Proverbs challenges us to look beyond the immediate and consider the generational impact of our choices. Yet this isn't the end of the story. For as we delve deeper into Proverbs' teachings, we discover that building a legacy of wisdom comes with both promises and warnings. What happens when this wisdom is rejected? What are the consequences of choosing a different path? These questions lead us to our next crucial exploration, Part 6. The cost of rejecting wisdom. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone deliberately turns away from wisdom? What price do we pay when we choose to ignore the divine guidance that's been offered to us? And perhaps most importantly, how does this rejection of wisdom affect not just our present, but our eternal destiny? Let me take you back to ancient Jerusalem, to the twilight years of King Solomon's reign. Here stood a man who had been granted unprecedented wisdom by God himself. Yet his story serves as a powerful warning about the cost of rejecting the very wisdom he once cherished. Picture Solomon, once the wisest king who ever lived, gradually drifting from the path of wisdom he had so eloquently written about in Proverbs. In 1 Kings 11, we find Solomon, surrounded by wealth and power, making choices that would have been unthinkable in his younger years. The scripture tells us that King Solomon loved many foreign women, from the nations concerning which the Lord had told the Israelites, "You must not intermarry with them." These weren't just political alliances, they represented a fundamental departure from the wisdom that had defined his early reign. The consequences of Solomon's choices unfold like a tragic play. As he built temples for his foreign wives' gods, his heart turned away from the Lord. The man who had written "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall," Proverbs 16:18, was now experiencing this truth firsthand. The kingdom that had reached its zenith under his wisdom began to crumble under the weight of his folly. But Solomon's story is more than ancient history. It's a mirror reflecting our own struggles with wisdom and folly. Proverbs 1:24-27 paints a vivid picture of wisdom's response to those who reject her. "Because I called and you refused to listen, stretched out my hand and no one paid attention, I in turn will laugh when disaster strikes you. I will mock when calamity overtakes you." These aren't just words of judgment. They're a sobering reminder of the natural consequences that follow when we reject divine wisdom. Think about the parallels in our modern world. How often do we see people, perhaps even ourselves, rejecting wisdom's guidance in pursuit of temporary pleasures or immediate gratification? The consequences might not be as dramatic as the division of a kingdom, but they're just as real. Broken relationships, squandered opportunities, and spiritual emptiness. Yet, even in this sobering message, Proverbs offers hope. Like a lighthouse guiding ships away from treacherous rocks, it shows us that recognizing our rejection of wisdom is the first step toward restoration. Proverbs 28:13 promises, "Whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy." The cost of rejecting wisdom isn't just about the immediate consequences. It's about the gradual hardening of our hearts, the slow drift from truth that can happen so subtly we might not even notice until we're far off course. But here's the profound truth. Even in our rejection, wisdom continues to call out. Like a patient parent waiting for a wayward child to return home, divine wisdom stands ready to guide those who will humble themselves and return. As we reflect on these truths, consider this: where in your life might you be slowly drifting from wisdom's path? What subtle compromises could be leading you away from the truth you once held dear? But this isn't where our story ends. Just as the consequences of rejecting wisdom are real, so too is the power of returning to it. In our next exploration, we'll discover how Proverbs offers a path of restoration for those who choose to embrace wisdom once again. Part 7. The promise of living in wisdom. What does it mean to truly live in wisdom? Have you ever wondered what transformation awaits those who fully embrace the principles of Proverbs? What if I told you that the rewards of walking in wisdom are far greater than anything we could imagine? Let me take you back to a pivotal moment in biblical history. Picture a young King Solomon standing before God at Gibeon. The weight of ruling a nation rests on his shoulders, yet when offered anything his heart desires, he doesn't ask for wealth, power, or long life. Instead, he requests wisdom to lead God's people. This choice, this humble acknowledgement of his need for divine wisdom, sets in motion a transformation that would impact not just his life, but generations to come. 1 Kings 3:12-13 records God's response. "I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be. I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor." This divine promise reveals a profound truth about living in wisdom. When we prioritize God's wisdom above worldly pursuits, everything else falls into place. Solomon's story demonstrates the cascading effects of choosing wisdom. Under his wisdom-guided leadership, Israel experienced unprecedented peace and prosperity. The kingdom expanded, commerce flourished, and people came from distant lands to hear his wisdom. Yet the true power of wisdom wasn't just in national success. It transformed individual lives, relationships, and communities. But here's what makes this relevant to us today. Proverbs isn't just recording Solomon's wisdom, it's offering us the same transformative power. Think about the challenges you face. Career decisions, relationship struggles, ethical dilemmas. Proverbs promises that wisdom brings clarity to these situations. Proverbs 3:21-24 assures us, "Keep sound wisdom and discretion. Then you will walk in your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid." Consider how this wisdom manifests in practical ways. Those who live by Proverbs principles often find their relationships deeper, their decisions more sound, their peace more lasting. It's like having a divine GPS for life's journey, guiding you through both major crossroads and daily choices. The rewards of living in wisdom extend beyond personal benefits. Proverbs 11:11 tells us, "Through the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted." When we walk in wisdom, our influence positively impacts our families, workplaces, and communities. Like ripples in a pond, the effects of wise living spread far beyond our immediate circle. But perhaps the most profound promise of living in wisdom is its effect on our relationship with God. Wisdom isn't just about making better decisions. It's about seeing life through God's eyes, understanding His heart, and aligning our lives with His purposes. This deeper connection transforms not just what we do, but who we are becoming. As we wrap up our exploration of Proverbs, consider this. What areas of your life could be transformed by applying this ancient wisdom? The invitation stands before us, not just to know wisdom, but to live it, to let it reshape our thinking, our choices, and our legacy. As we've journeyed through the Book of Proverbs, we've uncovered treasures of wisdom that speak powerfully to our modern challenges. But knowing these truths isn't enough. We must choose to live them. Let's explore how we can begin applying these principles in our daily lives. Conclusion: your journey to wisdom begins now. As we conclude our journey through the Book of Proverbs, we've discovered something far more powerful than just ancient wisdom. We've uncovered a living guide for transformation. The principles we've explored aren't merely historical artifacts. They're keys to unlocking a life of purpose, wisdom, and deep fulfillment. Throughout this exploration, we've seen how Proverbs addresses every aspect of human experience, from managing relationships and wealth to navigating challenges and building lasting legacies. But perhaps the most profound revelation is this: true wisdom isn't about accumulating knowledge. It's about allowing divine insight to reshape our hearts and transform our lives. Remember, Solomon's greatest achievement wasn't his wealth or power. It was his choice to seek wisdom above all else. Today, we stand at a similar crossroads. In a world that often prioritizes quick fixes and surface-level solutions, Proverbs calls us to something deeper, more authentic, more transformative. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you let these principles guide your decisions? How might your relationships change if you applied this wisdom consistently? What legacy could you build if you aligned your life with these eternal truths? The beauty of Proverbs is that it meets each of us exactly where we are. Whether you're facing crucial decisions, building a career, raising a family, or seeking purpose, these teachings offer guidance that's both timeless and timely. They speak to our deepest needs while addressing our present challenges. If this journey has resonated with you, I invite you to take the next step. Share in the comments below one principle from Proverbs that particularly spoke to your heart. What wisdom will you begin applying today? Your insights might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. For those who want to dig deeper, I have a question that I'd love for you to consider. How has your understanding of wisdom changed after exploring these teachings? Type Wisdom Seeker if you're committed to pursuing this deeper understanding in your life. Remember, this isn't the end of our exploration. It's just the beginning of your personal journey with wisdom. Each day presents new opportunities to apply these principles, to grow in understanding, and to experience the transformative power of divine wisdom. If you've found value in this exploration, please consider subscribing to Faith and Truth. We're committed to uncovering the profound truths of Scripture that can transform your life. Hit that notification bell to ensure you don't miss our next deep dive into biblical wisdom. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Proverbs. May these eternal truths guide your path, strengthen your decisions, and lead you to a life of profound wisdom and purpose. Until next time, keep seeking wisdom, for as Proverbs promises, those who find it find life itself. Stay blessed, and remember, wisdom isn't just for knowing, it's for living.